Screen Horror.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss the good, the bad, and the savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Meisner.
And this week, we are discussing a film that I feel like I should have watched immediately when it came out, but I procrastinated. Classic Adam. I want to say classic Laura, but I don't know. You're pretty good about
I'm on
watching.
top of things. What you talking about?
It's just me? You're putting the blame on me?
It's all on you, babe.
Jeez. What kind of marriage is this?
A good one.
Oh my goodness. My
Don't
gosh.
say it like that. It makes it seem like it's not a good one.
Putting the blame on me. Sing Sing is the movie we're talking about this week, and I am so excited to talk about this movie because it's just fantastic. I mean, spoiler alert, it's fantastic, but
We have to save that for the end, Adam.
I'll get into it. I'll get into the details of why I'm saying that, but there's just the things they talk about in this movie, and the fact that this movie is it's not a documentary per se, but it's based on real events.
It feels real.
And yeah, I mean you're talking about things that have happened in real life, and more to come on all of that. We're going to be talking about the details, the nitty-gritty of the film Sing Sing. But before we get into all of that,
Before we get into that, are you highly distracted by the cat just sitting here staring at you intently?
That does not typically happen, but yes, I am a little bit.
Like, you can't see her, all listeners. She just like strolled and sat down and then just stared at Adam.
Yeah,
while he was talking.
She's walked right into our room here and the studio and has sat on the floor looking into my soul.
I'll post a photo on the Instagram later.
It is a little distracting.
She's just so cute. Anywho, back to what you were saying, Adam.
Before we get into the details of our film of the week here, we are going to talk a little bit about our side slurps. That's right. Our side slurps are the things that Laura and I have done this past week. Other than watching the film of the week, our side slurps are some of the things like watching other TV shows, other movies, maybe even petting our cat who is staring into my soul.
Which always happens.
And she is one of a kind, that's for sure. But Laura, what are some of the things that you have done this past week?
Oh gosh, are we just doing the past week since we've been off air for a while?
Hey, fill me in.
I'm going to start breaking my side slurps into categories, right? Which I think I do anyways, but now I'm doing it in my notes. Video games, first of all. This week, Inzoi came out, which is a new simulation game that's it's very similar to The Sims, right? But it's like not at the same time. It's a beautiful game, so I got that. I haven't done too much with it yet. Like, I made Adam and I as characters and placed us into the world, and that's kind of where I'm at. But the character creation on that game is amazing. Like, I'm kind of looking forward to playing around with it a little bit more. Adam, you made a character. You played around a little bit on it.
I did. I had absolutely no idea what the game Inzoi was even going to entail until Laura had told me a little bit about it and filled me in that it was kind of like The Sims. It's kind of like a new version of The Sims.
And there's a cat.
And it's a brand new version of The Sims from a new developer, and it's not the exact replica of The Sims.
But the game, it's a simulation game, so like they're very similar, right? Mechanics are similar.
Very similar, yeah.
But now I'm looking forward to kind of really getting into it and doing gameplay. And even like my favorite thing in The Sims is just building and decorating houses, which I haven't done yet in Zoe. So maybe this afternoon, that's what I'll do. Just like kind of go in and build mode and play around with some stuff. The other game that just recently came out is Assassin's Creed Shadows. I am a big Assassin's Creed girly. So I'm really excited. I started playing that. I think I'm at like 6 hours in or something. I take forever though to play games because I do every single side quest available. So my 6 hours is probably another player's 3 hours if we're being honest with ourselves. And the book world, as all of you know, I'm a huge reader. I've read lots and lots of books over since the last episode. But my current reads are The Art of Catching Feelings, which is like a little romance about a baseball player. Adam picked it out. He always picks out like sports romance for me. Usually it's like hockey, but now we're in a baseball one. So
it's all I ever find when we're at Barnes and Noble looking around and Laura says, "Hey, find me a good romance book." And I'm looking at the shelving around there, and every single one that's in the romance novel section is just a slew of
There's
sports
a lot
romance.
of sports romance. But the baseball is very timely because the season is just starting. So, you know, I'm I'm reading in a very timely part. And then I'm also reading Order of Swans, which I've just started. It's by Jude Devereaux. Haven't really gotten into that much yet, so maybe next week I'll have more on that. TV. Adam and I are, this is where we have procrastinated. We are very much behind, but now we're catching up. We are in our three-peat. We're watching 3 shows: Traitors, White Lotus, and Severance. My friend Mary Kate has been on me to watch all of these, and we're finally getting into it. So we're kind of like rotating between them as we finish each season. Obsessed with Traitors. Like, I love Alan Cummings. He's so good. Everything about him I just love so much. And I love reality shows. So Traitors is really fitting the bill right now. We're in the 2nd season of that one. Really enjoying it. And yeah, otherwise just life. Work's been busy. I've been traveling a lot for work. Adam and I were just in San Francisco. Then I was in Boston like the next day. So kind of being a jet setter at the moment. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. I've a quick rundown of the slide slurps. Slide slurps. Can't speak of those side slurps since it's been a while. But I'll hand it to you, Adam. What you got?
Yeah, you mentioned San Francisco. It was a wonderful trip that we had going down there. I was checking out the Game Developers Conference out in San Francisco, and it was just so cool to be going around, seeing what's going on in the video game industry right now, in our current time, seeing what's happening with some different developers, some different software companies, how they're moving forward in the industry, and just talking with people that are in the industry right now. And I had a wonderful time doing that. As I was doing that, it also had my brain turning as I'm currently working on my own video game myself, as I'm trying to learn a little bit more about programming and integrating my own sound design elements and things like that for the game. And it is a handful as I try to make that game myself, but it is coming together. It is moving forward, and I'm still working on it, but it's a work in progress, and I'm happy to get that moving forward. In addition to working on that game, I'm trying to figure out some more classic movies I can watch. That I'm trying to make a kind of list for myself to think, what classic movies have I not watched yet?
We have that book, Adam.
There is just so many that I have not seen yet, and I'm thinking, man, what should be next? And I was just thinking about it the other day. I had a conversation with one of my colleagues about Gene Hackman passing away, and I thought, you know what? I still haven't watched The French Connection. That is like the greatest sin I can think of. So that's going to be on my to-do list. I'm going to watch The French Connection.
Well, we have that book of 1001 must-see movies. We also have like 3 scratch-off movie posters of like classic films to watch.
And we just got to keep going.
I know. We need to like make it a rule. Like every Sunday night, we watch one thing from one of those.
Yeah, I like it.
Also, the storm is just rolling in. We're under a tornado watch, everyone, and it's just started raining, Adam. I hear the thunder.
It goes well with us talking about movies. So.
Well, you got to set the mood. Like a rainy, stormy day is kind of the perfect mood for like watching a movie. If it was up to me, we'd go downstairs, we'd make some tea, we'd cuddle up, and we'd watch Lord of the Rings.
It also goes well with our cat that we mentioned looking into my soul, because the last time it was storming, she could not handle it.
Oh my God. Are we going to talk about that? It was like a cartoon, like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. I felt like it was something out of that. Like a clap of thunder went off, and Yuki, the cat that we're talking about, she tried to like take off and run, but she was slipping on the tile floor, and it's like her body was moving at like 60 miles per
It's like
hour.
you hear that sound effect,
But
like,
she wasn't moving. Yeah, exactly. Like it's like a Roadrunner or Wile E. Coyote thing. It's like, whoop, 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 whoop. And she's like, she's running, but she's not moving anywhere. It was great. It was so funny.
She's kind of giving me a look now.
Yeah,
like,
she knows we're talking about her. Look at her. She's getting sassy.
But that's really the things that I've been up to for the past couple of weeks. San Francisco and contemplating the next classic movie marathon that we need to go on.
So if you have any suggestions, let us know.
Yes. Please let us know what classic movies you've been into. And I want to go into a little bit of film news here that
Ooh.
I've recently seen.
So film news.
I like that.
I've created an intro on the spot.
So a couple things I saw. First off, I saw that Ariana Grande was just part of a short film entitled Brighter Days Ahead. And this goes hand
Tell
in hand.
me more. I know nothing about this.
It goes hand in hand with the release of the re-release, I should say, of her deluxe re-release of her 2024 album Eternal Sunshine that just came out. So apparently there is a 30-minute long short film entitled Brighter Days Ahead that goes with that.
And she directed it?
I don't know if she did.
Her and someone else. It says her directorial debut.
Oh. But yeah, she's a part of that short film. And so I haven't watched it yet, per se.
We're not really Ariana Grande people.
But yeah, that's apparently something that you can check out.
Something?
Yeah.
We do still need to watch Wicked. That's what we need to watch tonight.
Oh yeah, that's the big Ariana Grande thing that's out.
We really should watch that. we're really behind.
The other, film news thing I wanted to talk about was all of this discussion that's going on right now of a Legend of Zelda live action film to be released in 2027.
Saw that. Is it true?
It's apparently a thing that's going to be released in 2027.
Is there any like cast rumors yet?
I think the talk right now is that they're still trying to figure out who's going to play Zelda. So,
who would be good to play Zelda? She's kind of young, right? So I'm trying to think. Who would be a good But she's kind of elvish, right? She's like an elf, or is Link an elf? Are they kind of elvish?
Is Link an elf? I mean,
doesn't
Zelda...
he have pointy ears? Yeah. Doesn't he? Or Ganondorf? Doesn't someone have pointy ears? Anyway, elvish, I'm thinking Anya Taylor-Joy. Are they not elves?
I mean, I think Zelda is.
I'm Googling. We're getting sidetracked.
Is Link an elf?
We're getting sidetracked. Well, it says Link is an elf-like boy.
Oh.
So
he's not an elf, but he kind of looks like. I mean, he's got pointy ears. Yeah.
I think they're elves.
And they also say Zelda is the elf-like Hylian princess.
Well, what does that mean? They're elves then.
They're kind of elves. It's like, okay.
Right. They are elves.
So that is
okay. They're called Hylian.
Or aliens. No, I'm just
They are humanoid creatures with pointy ears. They're elves. Okay, moving on.
So you're basically calling them elves.
They're elves, all right? We're done. They're elves.
So
Legolas.
So that's the film news that I've got.
Zelda's kind of like a female Legolas, looks wise even. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's probably inspired by, but anywho,
which came first? Obviously, Lord of the Rings.
So with
the book, not the movie, right? Sorry, we're really all over the place. The Lord of the Rings films would have been after like the first Zelda, right? Because those are like 2000.
The Lord of the Rings films?
Yeah.
Would have been after Zelda?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So let's jump into our movie of the week, Sing Sing.
Not about singing. Whenever you try to Google this to look up notes, it keeps bringing up the movie Sing 2 with the animals, like Taron Egerton. And I was like, stop showing me Sing. I need Sing Sing.
Yeah, we're not looking up Sing. We're not looking up Sing 2. It is Sing Sing.
Sing Sing. Named
very
after
different.
a prison.
It has its similarities, but very different.
They don't really sing in Sing
Yeah, they
Sing.
don't really sing in
Which
this, but
which I think though the original play is a musical. When I was reading some of the reviews of this, they were saying the original like play version of this movie was a musical.
and the director in the movie, not the director of the movie, but the play director in the movie did mention that there would be musical numbers.
So they just took the music out for the film.
So,
But anyway, Sing Sing, named after the prison in New York. I think
Yeah.
it's in New York.
yep, and directed by Greg Cuidar, and starring Coleman Domingo, Clarence Macklin, Sean San Jose, Paul Raci,
Yep.
I
Yep.
believe, and
A
many-
number of formerly incarcerated members of the theater troupe that the movie's about.
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah. I mean, Coleman Domingo. Well, Paul Raci also. Let's say they're really the two like big actual like actors.
Mhm.
The rest of the cast really is all people that were actually part of the real life situation that the movie's telling.
Yeah, absolutely. So, basic overview of Sing Sing, American prison drama film, directed by Greg Cuidar
His sophomore film.
and written by Clint Bentley and Cuidar,
Mm-hmm.
based on the real life rehabilitation through the arts program at Sing Sing. The film centers on a group of incarcerated men involved in the creation of theatrical stage shows through the program.
Yeah. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, right? And like the movie really focuses on one production in particular. So them from the beginning to actually then performing that. And really not just the production, but also the relationships between the men and like how they are dealing with being in prison and experiencing everything that they're doing through there. It's really like a human story, not what I was expecting at all. And I was like really, really happily surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, when I first watched this, it really, I will say too, took me by surprise. The realism that I
Mhm.
saw throughout the movie is what really grasped my attention in terms of what they were doing with acting
Mhm.
in a prison. And I think that was really what got my attention in terms of seeing prisoners doing all this acting. And it really just got my attention
Yeah.
because I'm thinking to myself, this is just making me feel warm inside, because it's making these people at this prison feel much more, how do I say, humanistic, or
Yeah.
much more
I
like
mean-
collaborative and much more just understanding
They are
to one
just
another.
humans.
And it makes it seem like they're going to be more personable and
Mhm.
getting along to one another.
I mean, again, I think the key word in this is just like real, you know? And I remember, so Adam, you watched this movie first on the flight home from San Francisco, actually, and my headphones weren't working, so I didn't watch anything. But then when we got home, you're like, Laura, you need to watch this. And we like rewatched it together. But I remember one of the first things that you asked me when we watched this was like, you know, these scenes where they're doing maybe this like some like activities. I don't know, there's a word for it in like theater productions or something, where he's like, close your eyes and imagine your happy place or something, right? And they kind of go around in a circle, and you see all of these men who, as we mentioned, like were truly incarcerated men at Sing Sing who were part of this theater. And you asked, like, do you think the way they answered was real, or do you think it's scripted, or do you think it's like their real experience? And I think going back and looking at this now, I asked that for almost like every single scene in this film, you know, because they did, it's a lived experience for them. I think so much of it was actually them, like their experience, not scripted. And I even read some of the parts of the film were like the auditions when they're auditioning for parts for this play. I read in an article that those were the actual audition tapes, like for the film that they just used. So it's like these people are playing themselves. Like, yes, it's a fictionalized version of it, but they truly are playing themselves. Like, even Macklin, who is Divine Eye or whatever, he was asked by the director, like, do you want me to create a character for you, or do you want to be yourself? And he was like, I want to be me. Like, maybe that's arrogant, but like, this is my experience. Like, let me tell my story.
Yeah.
And you feel that throughout the whole movie.
It just seems so true for all of the people in the movie that are acting in this play. Everything that they do, it seems so real for all of their lines and everything. As you watch it, it almost seems just genuinely off the cuff and unscripted for almost everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're saying about the activities that the director in the film is doing, Paul Raci, what he's asking them to do. It seems like the responses that they have just seem like they're just saying what needs to be said right there in the moment. It seems very much like, okay, like they didn't practice this. Like they're just acting like themselves, like they have to.
Well, I think a lot of the film was kind of ad-libbed and just on them. I mean, the very last scene, which we'll talk about when we get there at the end, like very much so. Very much so. But yeah, even I know we're getting ahead. We haven't really got into the play, but like as we're talking about this lived experience and these real people, a lot of the cast was talking about how hard it was because they filmed in actual like decommissioned, prison facilities, and these men spent years in there and were finally free and living their real life. Can you imagine like the trauma and like the anxiety of returning to that kind of environment? Like, yes, you're there to film a movie, but you're like back in behind bars where you didn't want to be. And they were saying they had all these like counselors and therapists on set to help them because it is like PTSD in a way, like going back into this. But a lot of them said like, yes, there was that, but at the same time, like it was such a good group, like an ensemble cast that really like helped each other and were together, that it kind of overshadowed like the anxiety of being back in this environment. Like even though it was only shot in 19 days, I think we said, right? Like that's 19 days back behind bars in a place that you thought you'd never have to experience again. So I can't imagine like how that also impacted all the actors.
Yeah, that would not feel good if you had already lived through being in prison for such an extended time, and then it's like, okay, well now you get to go back there.
Go back, like, and again, they were like decommissioned prisons, but still, it looks it feels it, right? It's cold, it's the lighting, it's everything.
So with this movie, it starts off with Divine G, which is Coleman Domingo, our main character, incarcerated at Sing Sing, and his whole mantra, his whole purpose is essentially leading the theater group, the Rehabilitation Through the Arts program, and we first see him finalizing one of their shows. That is the intro to our film.
It's a Shakespeare play, right? I don't remember which one they were doing in the beginning. Is it?
I do believe so, yeah.
Hamlet, Macbeth, Midsummer, one of them.
Yeah.
It was a Shakespeare.
And so they're finishing that off, and under his talent and everything, they are talking about having another program, and through that they're discussing getting another actor involved for the program. And so him and Mike they need to go and find another actor for the program. And that's the big
impetus
peak
in
there.
the beginning.
The big thing in the beginning is,
and we learn, right, like Divine G, he went to like the Performing School of the Arts in New York, the high school that like Fame is set on, right? He was a dancer, like he's very much a theater person, and he even writes his own plays. Like they even talk about doing one of his own plays at this early point in the movie as well. So he's involved, and he truly sees this program as a way to like rehabilitate prisoners, and how like they even say at one point, like, we come here to feel human again, because within the prison you don't feel that, and this program is like the one place where they can feel like they are. And so he is so invested in this program, and you can tell that he's kind of put himself in the position of being like the leader of it. And so him, along with the director, the Paul Raci character, is his name Bert or something like that? And yeah, to what Adam's saying, like they're getting ready for their next production, but they need to expand the group. And it's hard. They even talk about like they put up names for suggestions, but they're like, well, this guy will like ruin the vibe in a way, right? So they're like, we can't get him. And then the person that they decide to look into, his name is Divine I, which is a little confusing with both the characters being like Divine G and then Divine I. But that's who they decide to kind of go to. And he's a character for sure. He's a tough man, right? This Divine I character. He seems very rough. When Divine G goes to talk to him about it, we see him kind of like hustling a new guy for money within the prison. So you could tell like he's a stark comparison to Divine G's character, who is like much more like calmer and sophisticated, I'll say. And then we have the opposite with Divine I.
Yeah, Divine I starts off as a very rough and non communicative kind of guy. He's definitely an opposite of Divine G, and it starts off with Divine G seeming like he's the, the party planner, and he's the one who will talk to everybody, and he's the leader of the pack. And I think that's really the solid, point of the beginning of this film, is that it starts off like Divine G, he's the one that everyone wants to come to for everything, or he's the one who's got all the everything planned out. And then we learn as Divine G continues to communicate and lead the pack, and he starts to kind of mold Divine I into more of a performer, and communicate with him more and make Divine I more open with everyone. Then as the movie progresses and things continue to work together, Divine G and Divine I, they become closer as time progresses.
Their relationship truly is like one of the best parts of this movie. The growth and the transformation of their relationship from how they were in the beginning to the very end.
And as the movie progresses, we see how prison takes its turns on the two of them, on Divine G and on Divine I.
So in the beginning, right, like they are quite combative to each other. They even disagree on the type of play they should do next, right? Like G really wants to do what he knows and loves best, which are like dramas, these like deep and thoughtful pieces. And Divine I comes in and he's like, man, why don't we do a comedy? Like, it's dark and depressing as hell in here. Like, let's do something funny. And so
and immediately everyone else that's there is like, yeah, we do always do dark things.
But they all want something different, right? They're going around in a circle, and one guy's like, I want pirates. The other one's like, I want like ancient Greece. I want mummies. And so what do? They like write their own play that includes time travel to all this other random
The director,
stuff.
Brent, he says, oh yeah, well, we can do all of that. If we integrate time travel, then we could do everything. Hamlet, we could have pirates, we can have Egyptians.
And like, you see bits and pieces of this play that they're creating throughout the movie, but you don't really get a full idea of it. I wonder, Adam, if you can watch like the original on YouTube or something. Like,
I'd be curious.
I can imagine that this play, if you watch it, honestly is probably so wild that it actually is like quite enjoyable to watch, because it's got everything in it, right? It's got it has everything.
Robin Hood, Egyptians, Captain Hook.
Yeah, Captain Hook. But then there's also like Hamlet, because that's another reason why they're, Divine G and Divine I kind of are at each other in the beginning, because they both go and audition for the one dramatic role within the piece. And Divine G is like, yo, like, you wanted a comedy, so why are you auditioning for like the one dramatic role in this whole play? And of course Divine I gets it, not Divine G. So they're kind of butting heads. But as they continue to work together, as you said, Adam, right, like Divine G kind of goes to Divine I and he's like helping him work through stuff and become a better actor, and even pursuing like his what is it called when you're up for like not probation, but when you're up to parole, when you're up for parole and stuff, right? Because like Divine G, he says that he has been wrongly, imprisoned, that he didn't actually commit the crime that he did, and then another man has confessed to it, and so he's really trying to get his parole and like get his conviction overturned so he can get out. And Divine I is like, man, like what's the point in trying to get out? Like this is where I'm being. And Divine G is really like, no, like, I'll help you. Like, let's get you out of here, kind of thing. And they work together in that way and grow in that way, which I really, really liked.
Yeah, absolutely. And Divine G, he's talking with Divine I about getting an essay put together, getting a stack of papers together to start working on what he needs to present for his clemency hearing to properly display how he could be let out of the prison finally, rather than just sitting around the entire time. And just as you were saying, Divine I's first response is more like, well, why waste my time on this? But Divine G's got the very positive outlook, like, no, man, you can do this. It's totally worth your time. And it's one of those things where Divine G's first perspective with Divine I, very positive, very optimistic through all of this. And it's one of those things where as the film continues, as we continue to see his outlook and the rest of the prisoners, very optimistic as he's going along, until as we continue, and we see what's happening. We get to first we get to a point where he's having a conversation with Mike in his room.
Their cells are next to each other. They like speak to each other through the wall.
Yeah. So they are just kind of discussing what's going to be next for their lives at the prison, essentially, with the play and everything. And lo and behold, it's found that Mike passes away from a brain aneurysm.
I was so upset when that happened. Like Mike was G's best friend there. They were like, always together. And I remember, Adam, when we were watching it, when he went silent, I was like, did they just kill him? They just kill off Mike. I'm gonna be so mad. And then next scene, he's dead. I was so upset. But it's through this program that like G is able to get through his emotions and the feelings of losing him and continue on. And is this the part in the film too where they show the board like a snippet of the play to get approval to do it, and it's just this giant like ancient Greek fight scene where they're
I think so, yeah. They've got the board sitting there, and
run on stage.
They run on
like,
stage,
fake fight.
And Brent is giving them the signal, like, "Come on, let's go."
It's quite funny, and like you're watching it, you're like, oh, they're gonna get denied. Like, there's no way that the board is gonna let them do this play. But lo and behold, it was approved.
I thought that was very funny.
That was one of the comedic bits of the film for sure. And then, well, after that is when, right, like they have their clemency hearings, right? Both Divine I and Divine G are up.
And it's something that you would think that Divine G, he is presenting his evidence to the board. He's going in there very serious, and he's not doing anything out of line in front of the board. He's got everything together.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's even a recording of the other person, like, admitting to doing the crime, right?
It all seems very well together, yet still the board is coming at him, as I would say, like, with an iron fist. Like, they're like, well, the person in your tape has passed away, so we're having a hard time putting this together.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we've heard about you running this acting program. So are you acting right now?
Yeah,
is this
that
all an act?
Really threw me off when they like were starting to go at him like, well, you're all about this acting program, and like, but is this all an act? Like, are you playing a role right now? And I was like, oh, wow. Tough questions. So it turns out, right, that Divine G does not get, he does not pass. He's denied. But Divine I is approved, and he is set to be released from prison. Shortly after the play actually goes off, I think he leaves.
Yeah, it's all a sign to Divine G of essentially irony that he had just helped Divine I through all of this, getting approved, all of this optimism that was shown in the first half of this film. Like, let me help you get out. Let me show you how to act. Let me bring you into this world of collaboration with, this open arms. And then Divine G gets denied after all of that. And then Divine I, it's like, so see, you got approved.
And I think, and that's where, at this point of the film, they're at the dress rehearsal, and Divine G has like a breakdown, which to what you just described, right, Adam? Like, he has spent his entire time in the prison doing this program and helping men like rehabilitate so that they can get back out into the world, helping them with their clemency hearings. Like, he's been helping so many people, and yet it's not helping him, right? Like, he's still stuck here. So during the dress rehearsal, he has like a breakdown and tries to fight Divine I, even like tries to start a fist fight with him, and decides to leaves the group, and he's just kind of like in a state.
Yeah.
We'll say.
We see shots of him in his room, and he's just laying there. He's got his notepad still in the shot that we see, but he just
isolates from the group, right?
He is just not with it
done.
anymore. And clearly it's kind of like, okay, he's had it with everybody anymore.
And now the tables have turned, because now, he's like in the position that Divine I was in the beginning. And now Divine I is playing G's role. Like, he goes out to Divine G and is like, man, I get it. right? like,
Yeah.
like I get it, but we need you. Like you need us. You need this. And they kind of reconcile, and G realize like he apologizes for what he did, and he knows that he needs to come back, and they reconcile, and he's welcomed back into the group with open arms.
Yeah, Divine G, when the play is about to go off, he essentially apologizes to the entire group and explains, we all have moments, and I do apologize, and we see the tear come down his face, and they all welcome him back openly.
And they do the play, and it's a roaring success. Which again, I want to see this play because like the part with the mummy, you remember the one character who's just like, "Mummy."
Yes, mummy.
Like I want to know what is the plot and what is the point of this whole production. I feel like we'll have to look it up. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
Wasn't the line the mom was saying like, "Where's my child?" or something like that?
I just remember he kept going like, "Mummy."
Yeah, and he's like, "Mummy,
where's
mummy,
where's my mummy?" And he was a mummy, which was the joke. Everyone, it was Egyptian. But yeah, so the play, absolute success. Everyone's happy. And then shortly after that, Divine Eye, is released and becomes a free man.
And then after that, now years later, Divine G successfully passes his parole hearing. We see an envelope is received. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but Divine G had explained to Divine Eye that you can tell your the decision of the parole hearing by if you get a tiny envelope, then you have passed. If you get a giant packet, essentially a very, very thick envelope of papers, then you failed.
Mm-hmm.
So this is shown in the movie symbolically, but because after Divine G had done his clemency hearing, we don't see Divine G going through a packet of papers necessarily, but we do see the envelope he had received, and it is a giant packet.
Yeah, the first time around.
The very first time he had received his paperwork. So it's just a giant packet that he received. And we can see when he meets up with Divine Eye, that Divine Eye is just holding a tiny little envelope. Mm-hmm. So we know that he had been approved. Yeah. Now
at the very end
of this movie, we see Divine G holding a little envelope in his hand. It's all very symbolically done very well.
Yeah. And so the final scene then, which is like honestly one of I think the most beautiful scenes in this film, is we see Divine G leaving prison. So he's walked out of prison and he meets up with Divine Eye. So Divine Eye is there to pick him up. And this whole scene is like shot through the front window of like a truck. And you're seeing Divine G and Divine Eye standing in front of the truck, kind of looking into the prison. And G is finally realizing like he's free. They're like, the air feels different out here, right? Like they realize they're free men. And
I thought that was very well done too, because you would think that, okay, is he going to leave prison and meet with his family? Is he going to meet with...
Right, because he does have kids. I mean, he has kids. They both have kids.
He talked about having kids. Like, he talked about his family he talked about his family with Divine Eye, I will say. Yeah, I mean,
but I can imagine, right, like the support of having someone there who's also gone through the same thing, because it's got to be a huge like culture shock going back into the real world, right? Like they don't have phones. Like think of all the technology that's advanced in that time. Like they have to get used to. But yeah, it was a very emotional like reunion at the end, and you can see like G just breaks down like in Divine Eye's arms, realizing now that he's free, and that's really like the last shot of that. What I was going to say about that last scene was I was reading like a behind the scenes thing. And I guess, again, I mentioned like being back into this prison was very emotional for a lot of these men. And Colman Domingo, though he wasn't formerly incarcerated, he's an actor. He's been like immersed in this life. And I think when they were filming this last scene, he was feeling a lot of the emotions. And he told the director, he was like, I don't want Divine Eye to touch me. Like, don't touch me. Like, I will break down. I don't want to be touched. Like, let me just do this scene. And the director was like, okay, yeah. And then he goes to Divine Eye and he pretty much tells him, like, grab him. Like grab Colman Domingo, like really feel this scene. And so I will have to go back and rewatch it, but it was saying like they did one take of this scene, and that's the one that's in the film. And you can see like Divine Eye goes in to embrace G and he kind of like backs away because again he said he didn't want to be touched, but like I just grabs him and like pulls him in, and the rush of emotion was like true, like that Colman Domingo was just in that moment, and even the lines that are spoken after that were all ad lib, like that was just the two of them kind of like experiencing that moment together, which I thought was so interesting.
Yeah, it is amazing to see just what is going on. Again, I think the realism element of this movie between the actors, between what they are doing, from the acting scenes, just, I mean, like the acting class scenes happening in this movie, it all just seems very real in the movie. And from what you're describing too for the end of the movie, I mean, it all just seems very much just off the cuff.
Like it's not acting, almost. Like this is just lived experience.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I think that goes to show that's really the talent of, that goes into acting too, is that you're not necessarily, it's not a practice method, when you're method acting, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I think too, not even just acting, but also the importance of like truth in the story itself, right? Like I think that plays such a key role in how people experience and interact with your movie also. But that's the movie, everyone.
Yeah, that was essentially
filmed in 19 days, which I was telling Adam, that seems so short. Like I don't understand how you could do a whole movie in a month, but they did.
So what do other people think about Sing Sing? That is a real question. That is something
That's a real question. So this movie actually has really, really high reviews, and in my opinion, was absolutely snubbed at the Oscars. Like it deserved way more recognition than it's gotten in the award season. It was nominated for quite a few things, but obviously didn't win because Anora like swept the Oscars. But honestly, Colman Domingo deserved like best actor. He was so good.
I'm curious why this didn't get more acknowledgement from the Oscars.
It's an
it's
an A24 film, right? What A24 film has really gotten a lot? Well, is Anora A24? As I'm saying that,
I don't think so.
Okay, I feel like A24 is very popular. It is a very big like production house, but I don't think a lot of their movies have gotten the recognition right at the like Academy Award level.
Something I'll have to look into.
I'll have to look it up because maybe I'm not remembering, but I think that's part of it. It's not a major house production or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing because this movie I felt was just really
so good,
really showing something.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, this movie currently is just roaring up there, 97% on both sides of the spectrum from critics and the audience score meter.
Yeah.
So
Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, 4 out of 4. Again, like this movie is getting rave reviews. I don't think there's much said against it, honestly. Rightly so. Like it deserves all the recognition that it's getting from the critics.
And with that being said, that brings us up to our Slurps Up or Slurps Down section of our episode. Slurps Up meaning we highly recommend this movie. We think you should check it out. And we think that it should be part of your watch list. And Slurps Down meaning we don't think you should watch this movie. We think you should avoid it at all costs. And we think that you're just wasting your time if you watch this movie. But honestly, Laura, Slurps Up or Slurps Down for this movie?
I think it's very obvious what both of our opinions are on this one. So Slurps Up. Everything that we've mentioned so far in this episode, the acting, the story, the emotion, the experience, the filming, like everything about this movie is done excellently. Like I don't know what else I can say honestly about it. So I think everyone should absolutely go watch it. It's streaming right now in the US. So if you have access to it, go watch it.
Yeah, and for me, no hesitation. Slurps Up for this movie. It's just so real without technically being a documentary. It is based on real events. It's based on real things that happen. It's got the real people that have been a part of Sing Sing as actors in the film. So why aren't you watching this movie if you haven't already? It's so cool. It is just such a great movie, and I'd watch it again. It was great.
You've already watched it twice.
Yeah, I've already watched it twice. I'll watch it again. It's just a great movie to have on your radar. So if you haven't already watched it, please watch it. I recommend it. Slurps up from me. And with that being said, that wraps it up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Be sure to follow us on social media at Screen Slurps on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Ghana, or any other podcast streaming service out there. And if you enjoy what you hear, slide on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating. It will help us a lot. And if there's any crazy movies that you want to hear about, let us know. Leave a comment on one of our social media pages, and trust me when I say we will be sure to talk about it. So closing out, I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Meisner.
Slurps up, and we will catch you later.
Later.